Hi and welcome to Procad's AEC live discussion, episode 1. My name is Ger Maria. I'm joined by my colleague Maria McNamara, and we're just going to take you through simple workflows through the AEC collection. I'm going to pass you through to Maria, who's just going to explain a small bit about the AEC collection.
So the AEC collection is the architecture, engineering and construction. So there's 20 plus pieces of software in this collection, and they can all be used together to progress through any project. So I'm going to hand you over to Ger now. He is going to take you through the first step of the workflow.
Yeah, so like Maria said, I'm going to take you through the first step, which in this case is going to be Revit and AutoCad. On this workflow, I'm just going to take you through how you can link a 2D environment into 3D. So basically create a 3D model from a 2D platform. So I'm going to take the role of the architect. You can see here that originally the architect created the drawing in AutoCAD, but I'm going to change it now. I'm going to bring it into Revit and create a 3D model from that. So from here, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to link CAD. Link CAD creates a live link between AutoCAD and Revit. So if any changes are created inside an AutoCAD, it'll directly load into Revit through the Manage Links option. Inside here you can see Manage Links, and you can see through CAD formats that the AutoCAD ground floor plan is now linked in. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create walls. So this is kind of the normal workflow in an AEC collection. You always kind of start out creating your walls because that's how you build the rest of the elements from. You can see that the very first thing I'm doing is creating and using the base constraint, which is the ground floor, and the top constraint, which is the first floor. And once I do that, you can see that I'm using the external reference points of the CAD file to generate the walls. It's a very simple process. It's simply just clicking on the start point of the wall and clicking on the end point of the wall. And that will automatically generate the wall itself, and you don't even need to worry about heights because it's all done by the levels that you selected. So now that I've done the external walls, you can see them all highlighted here, I'm going to start looking at the internal walls. The internal walls are a different size. They're going to be 125mm stud, and you can see that the process always remains the same. Selecting the start point, which is the start point of the external reference of the wall, and just clicking on the endpoints, which will automatically generate the wall for me. I'm going to again carry on using internal walls, and you can see here that I'm going to make a mistake. That wall is actually supposed to end at this point, and it's simply just left clicking on the wall, clicking on the blue bubble, and dragging it back to the location that you want. Next off, I'm going to do doors, and the reason that you always start with walls is that the doors can automatically be inserted into the walls. From here you can see I'm going to add a new door into the CAD format, and this is how the live link works. Just going to trim that, and you can see that I'm going to go back into Revit, Manage Links, and I'm going to reload that link, and you can see that that door has now been inserted into our Revit model. Again, simply just placing the door into the wall, it automatically creates the OPE and the door itself. And from that, going to create the floors. Floors are generated using the wall functions as well, selecting your profile, following the traces of the wall, simply creating the floor. And last but not least, in this workflow, just simply adding windows. Windows are the same as adding doors. You simply hover over the wall and select, and that automatically places in the window like so. So that is kind of a brief overview of how you can create architectural components excuse me, inside a Revit model. You can see that I'm simply carrying on creating further walls, doors and windows, but this workflow doesn't change if you're changing any other elements. So this is the same thing if you're creating roofs, or any other element inside in a Revit project. You can see that this is what I prepared earlier, is just a finished product. When you're finishing the product, you can simply hide anything that you don't need anymore, which in this case is going to be the CAD file. And again, you can see that this is the finished product here when I have all my elements, walls, doors, floors, everything in this. So to pass you over to my colleague Maria, who's going to take you through the structural side of it.
Okay, so I'm representing the structural engineer. So they've already got the plan of the building itself with the walls from the architect, and from that now they're going to place the beams and columns in on those. So you can see, similarly to Ger, 2 CAD files have been linked on the same level. So you can go into visibility graphics and turn off each of them as you need it, so you can see them more clearly. So going in and placing the columns, you can see you can set the level where you want them to the base level, which is a ground floor, and using the grid system from both the structural and the architectural model, you can easily place each of the columns. If they're placed in the wrong position or they need to be rotated, it's very easy just going up to the modify panel and selecting those and rotating them. Again, if you place a wrong column, in this case I'm going to put in a column where it needs to be a concrete column, just going up to your properties palette and selecting the correct one and then aligning to the correct position. Using the multiple option makes it a lot quicker. You can copy multiple columns at the same time. If you place them at the wrong level, you can easily go in, selecting them, going back into the properties palette and selecting the correct level that they should be at. So going back into the visibility graphics, then turning off the column CAD file and then turning on the beam one, you can go back in and using the schedule there, you can place the beams into the correct positions and using the columns that have already been placed. You can do them individually, or if there are several of the same type, you can just copy and paste to the other positions. It's actually a good thing to note that when you are working with these CAD files and linking them, you're always working with the latest. So when you go back into your visibility graphics, you can turn off the CAD files and you can see then you have a 3D structural model. So to hand you over to Ger now to show you how you coordinate the structural model with the architecture's model then.
So like Maria said there, what we're going to do now is do a BIM coordination. It's going to be very simple. It's just basically the fact that I have now done a 3D model using the architectural side. Maria has done the 3D model on the structural side. We're just going to coordinate the two by simply live linking the structural model into my architectural model now. And this is a workflow that we're going to take you through now. So you can see inside here, this is just my architectural model. Like I said, we're going to go to Insert, Link Revit. And what this is now doing is creating a live link between the structural model and the Revit model. So if Maria ever makes changes to her structural model, I can simply reload it in and I'll automatically see those changes made. What we're going to have a look at here is I'm going to first of all turn off the CAD file because I've created all the elements, now I don't need it. And you can see I'm going to select the structural model. The structural model selects all as one because it's a linked model. We're going to specifically look at the front of the building and we're going to specifically look at the columns. You can see that first of all I'm going to create a halftone of the structural model, which makes the architectural model stand out more. There are only 8 columns in this position on the structural side, and there are 10, on the architectural side, and there are 10 on the structural side. So what I'm going to do now as the architect is I'm going to copy what the structural engineer has done, because I'm going to base my work off their plans, I'm going to base their work. So inside here, now what you can see is that I have correctly aligned the architectural side up with the structural side, and it's just a simple coordination process. Again, there is no information lost in this because it's a live link, and you can see that I can now rectify the mistakes that I have done through the structural side by simply linking in the model that Maria has created. So the very last part of the workflow is the information that you can get out of the model, which my colleague Maria is going to take you through.
Okay. So in this part of the work,
Yeah.
Okay. So in this part of the workflow, we're going to go through simple scheduling. So we have the architect's model. with our doors, windows, all the other components in it. So in this case we're going to do a simple door schedule. So selecting, you can see we have our doors in, so going to schedule quantities in our project browser, selecting new schedule. So you can see here the list of categories you can select. There's multiple. In this case we're going to select doors. You can also change the name of the schedule if you'd like. So once you have that done, it brings you to schedule properties box where you can select the fields you want to sort by. So you can see there's variations. In this case we're just going to go by type, height, width, cost and count. So once you have those selected, and level as well. So once you have those selected, clicking OK brings you into your door schedule. You can see if you decide to change, if one of the costs is wrong, you can go back in and change one and it automatically updates and changes all the rest of them. You can also sort, so in this case we're going to sort them by level and also grand totals. So you can see they are sorted by level there, and we have a grand total of doors in our model. So we're going to go back in here into our formatting and we're going to calculate the totals and the cost. So you can see now we have a total count of the doors and also a total cost of all the doors in the model, and you know that that's accurate because it features all the doors that are in the model. So that's it that's the final step in that workflow.
Yeah, so just to finish up there, thank you for joining and watching the workflow. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them or type them in the chat and we'll get back to you. Yeah, and stay tuned, there are more episodes coming. Episode 2 is going to contain Revit and Navisworks workflow and how they coordinate and talk to each other. And also you can see that we're going to take you through more workflows because the AEC collection is populated by 20 plus products, and you can see that from this diagram here you can see that they all talk to each other and they're all able to coordinate with each other, and there are a vast amount of workflows that you can do with these. If you want to see any specific ones, please feel free to comment and we'll work on them for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.